Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Chasing Green Arrows. Today we're actually doing a deadline stream. We'll be streaming for the next hour. The focus will be on your questions. Gianni will be joining me very shortly. Uh, we had a short stream yesterday where we discussed different topics, but this time in this episode we'll be discussing your questions primarily. So, without further ado, start sending in your questions already in the chat, and I and Gianni, once he joins, will try and address them to the best of our ability. Let's start. Everyone in the chat is writing Palmer. Some are writing Salah. I am captaining Palmer. That's actually a nice talking point to begin with. I am captaining Palmer this week. From what I gather, Dean will also be on Palmer. Gianni was on Salah till last night. I personally feel as if I want to target the upside. I don't think there would be too many opportunities to go against the obvious till the end of the season. I think this is a week where you can afford to go differently. I personally think even without keeping ownership in mind, I think Palmer generally should outscore Salah. That's in line with what the bookies think. Well, Gianni's joined us. Hello, Gianni. I assume you're rating us from your Gianni Batici YouTube stream. So, hello and welcome to everyone who's joined us from Gianni's stream. So, what's up? Are you still on Palmer? Oh, sorry, are you still on Salah? Have you changed your mind? Are you going for Palmer at this point?
Oh, mate. So I went to bed last night at 60-40. And I think I said that on the stream. I said, I'm going to go.
And I already know what's coming next. So you went to bed, but now you've woken up and you're going Palmer, right?
I woke up this morning straight away. I texted a WhatsApp group to be like, oh, guys, I'm really tempted on Palmer. I was like, I'm going to give it the day. I've been out all day. I got back in 2 hours ago. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been Palmered. And it was one of the comments last night that made me doubt myself on chasing green arrows. At the end of the stream, someone said, Gianni, at your rank, let me know if you're in the stream today, guys. Said at your rank, you should be going Palmer. And it was a really good point. Like when it's a 50-50 and I don't have strong opinions on who's going to get more points, I should go for the one that's going to get me the bigger rank rise. And I had a bit of a salty response to that at the end of the stream last night. So apologies, guys. I think I said something like, have I not taken enough risk in the last 3 days? I've just bought in Mateta. I've committed to free hit. I took a 4-point hit and I capped a DSAC. And the reason why I liked Salah was it was just, I don't want to go through that again. That craziness of the feeling of watching Salah without captaining him. But after a couple of days recovery of that, since the DSAC Salah games, I think I'm ready to go again. And I think Palmer is where I'm at, mate. So I am very likely to go Palmer, I think, unless I can be convinced otherwise. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to go Cole Palmer captain. I think you've helped inspire me, mate.
Thank you. And I hope it works out well, actually. The game will be played, I think it's at 1:15 a.m. tonight, my time, and I'm going to be up all night. I'm calling in sick from any work that I'm supposed to do tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to that. And in a way, it's nice that captaincy can be, you can get out of the way early. If he gets double digits, I think I'll be satisfied, irrespective of whatever Salah does. And if you look at the injuries in the Southampton defense, Shani, I mean, their defense is a joke at this point. Like it generally is. If Chelsea don't win by 3 goals minimum, it'll be a huge surprise to me.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It really is bad, and it has to be. It's people aren't going Palmer because Chelsea have been bad, but we have to remember the matchup when Chelsea play midweek games in Europe and they batter them on Thursday nights. This is a similar sort of matchup. This Southampton team is so bad; it doesn't matter how Chelsea are playing. So yeah, I think I'm with you. And guys, there's 150 of you watching. We would love you to hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. We appreciate that there's lots of other YouTubers streaming. We're with you till 5:30. We're with you for the next 45, 50 minutes. So stay with us and then go and watch your other YouTuber for the final half an hour if you fancy. We would love you to stay. We'd love you to hit the like button, but also, most importantly, we'd love you to subscribe. Get voting in the poll. Big man, I've got big decisions to make with my team, but we're here to talk about yours too. I really want Eze for Rodgers, and I've got the exact funds to do it. I didn't realize Rodgers was dropping twice in price this week. So he's already dropped once, and I just assumed that was it. He's dropping again tonight, which means I can't now make that move Eze to Rodgers next week. So I either have to make it this week, and then I've got a massive benching dilemma, probably benching Eze, or I just leave myself a little bit of time, which I really want. I find an alternative way to Eze next week with 2 free transfers. I'm thinking my cash cow might be Watkins. And if my cash cow is going to be Watkins, I could go Watkins out to Cunha this week because I fancy Cunha at home to Fulham. I mean, what's your take on Cunha?
I think Cunha is one player I really want to own, but João Pedro's resurgence, re-emergence from from the dead has just sort of made my decision for me. I've sort of now been in a position where I can afford to roll, and I've exhausted a lot of my free transfers in the previous 2 weeks, and this feels like an opportunity where I can just rest up and get some flexibility back. I love Cunha. I mean, if you want to do from Watkins to Cunha, I think it's a transfer that I personally would have little issue with, especially considering what it will allow you to do in the coming weeks. So for me, it's different. So I just want to mention why we were thinking differently. So in my team, I have Watkins as my main forward. You have both Watkins and Isak. So Watkins is technically your second forward. Now, should you want Haaland in game week 29, I assume that you have a certain plan in place. But for me, my plan is to sell Watkins to fund Haaland through possibly a Salah downgrade.
Yes. I don't think Haaland will be coming in for me, but I will have him in 29 because I'll be on free hit. But then I will have to go 30 without Haaland, which is quite scary. But I can maybe go Marmoush.
But then you have Salah, right? And Salah has Everton at home in 30. Yes,
Yeah.
Haaland has Leicester at home in 30, but you can have Salah.
True.
I think that, I'm sort of now coming to a point where I don't think I can cheer on Salah's points for much longer, because this week I'm going against him as captain. In game week 29, I'll be selling him, and I don't think I'll be getting him back on my wild card, because I do think that given the fixture schedule and because Liverpool won't have any doubles and because of Salah's price, and I assume this will be template at that point as well. A lot of people will sacrifice Salah. I feel as if I'll be in the same boat.
Yeah. Do you reckon we'll have what it takes to make that Haaland move? Like, do you reckon we'll see enough from him and we'll be up for selling Salah? Like, I'm not convinced. That I think you're right on paper. That will be the play everyone thinks they're going to make. But selling the best player in the game with good enough fixtures will be really tough, won't it?
It will be tough for sure, but if Haaland is playing in 29, we need to see whether he's fully fit by then. He was training this week, so I assume that 29 is a long time away. I would assume he's going to be fine by then. But if he is, then I assume that's going to be a transfer that a lot of people would make.
Yeah, it is a very, very long time away, to be fair. What do you make of Watkins this week then? Because I fancy Crystal Palace versus Villa.
I find that fixture very difficult to call, actually, Gianni, because I was looking at, I was reading some various stats. I was looking at various predictions, and from all those fixtures, I found it really hard to predict. I think this is a fixture that can go either way. Do you fancy Palace to win that fixture?
I just love the Palace performance last time out, and I think they're really in a confident Crystal Palace at the moment. And I know their away form's been amazing, but I quite like the matchup. I think Villa could be a bit tired. Villa obviously had that midweek before, so I just wonder if the games might catch up with Villa a little bit. But Rashford looked so good against Chelsea when he came on, and he'll cause the wing backs problem. Like it could be those Palace wing backs like push back, so it's almost like a back five. Certainly for Mitchell against down that right hand side. Well, no, it'll be Munoz. I mean, it'll be Rashford on the left versus Munoz. I don't quite know how that matchup works. Will it be Richards marking him and Munoz still given license, or will Munoz have to be disciplined and deep for once? And if he is deep, does that then restrict their attack? So it's a fascinating tactical battle. Obviously, the back five or the back three of Palace versus the back or the front three of Aston Villa. Rodgers is a doubt. I think that affects Villa a little bit. Rodgers has been so good for them. I mean, what do you make of Rodgers? Everyone is selling Rodgers, not because he's been bad, but just because he doesn't play in 29 and he's flagged.
I think he's a sell. Again, for the reasons you mentioned, minutes in doubt. He's not playing in 29. Again, it comes down to your chip strategy as well, right? So you don't exactly have to go out of your way to sell him because you're free hitting in 29. But for someone like me, I sold him last week because I was planning for 29. I think he's a sell. I mean, long story short, and a lot of people are in the market for a replacement this week. I think Bowen is probably the one you go for given the fixture if you can afford him. If not, then I still like the Bournemouth mids. Yes, they blanked in one fixture, but that doesn't mean that they're poor options. I still like the idea of doubling up on two of them actually. Dango is, becoming a bit of a risk now with Evan Nelson back, but I still think he should be fine for the next 2 to 3 fixtures if that's what you're looking at. And Semenyo is more of a robust pick with his minutes more secured anyway.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm with you there. The Evan Nilsson start just isn't going to come yet either, so we don't have to worry too much. And I do think it's Kluivert who's going to have a ton of minutes taken off him, but yeah, let's see. Okay, mate, I think we should see your team sooner rather than later. Let's have a look. Let's see where we're at. Guys, I would love you to hit the buttons. Loads by doing a deadline stream. Smaller channels like ours never has big numbers. Because we know there's YouTubers out there who huge numbers, and the algorithm pushes them because they've got big numbers and they're big accounts for deadline streams when everyone's streaming. What it does do is lots of new people will stumble across our account for the first time today. So if you are one of those new people and you've never seen Chasing Green Arrows, I promise you're going to enjoy it. We stream 3 times a week, not usually on deadlines. But come by, hit the like button, but mainly, if you're new, hit the subscribe button. We would love that. And we're with Bigman here, who once finished 4th in the world. He is one of the leading FPL managers in the world. What he has to say is always noted from me. And this is where you're at, Bigman. 1 free transfer, 2.4 in the bank. Talk us through where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like a week where I can afford to roll my transfer to give myself some additional flexibility in the weeks to come. And I think I would stick by that. The big decision this week is the captaincy one, and I've made my bet with Palmer. I don't think I'll be changing it. So I'm pretty sure that assuming no last minute deadline panic, this will be my team this week.
Are you not tempted on Cunha? Because I'm tempted on Cunha, and I'm not free hitting. I'm free hitting 29. So in 29 you need Cunha for Southampton. Surely he's going to be in your team, but why not get him now? Because he's got a better 2 fixtures than Watkins next 2. He's got just as good of 2 fixtures as João Pedro's next 2, and he's a better player than both of them on current form. And he's guaranteed to play 90. Watkins could see an early sub. João Pedro, if Welbeck's fit, might not even start. Like, you've got the money there to go Cunha in for either of them, and you're going to have Cunha in 29.
But Welbeck
right?
is not fit, right? That's the big thing. That if Welbeck's minutes are a concern, right? And if he's not fit, then I'm happy holding João Pedro. Then again, if João Pedro puts in another man of the match performance against Bournemouth, then he can keep playing. And if he's playing, then I don't necessarily need to go out of the way to sell him. That's what I'm thinking, especially if Welbeck is out, and we don't know how long he's out for because we've seen Hosler not actually be honest about injuries in the past. He's been very dodgy, and I don't think he's someone who you can trust. So I'll see where I'm at next week, and if let's say João Pedro's minutes are in doubt, then I can maybe sell in DF for Cunha. That's a transfer I can always make. But current thinking is that I think I need 2 transfers to sell Salah and get Haaland basically in game week 29. And apart from that, the team looks all right. I mean, we're sort of getting to a point where we're meandering towards the finish line before we refresh our squads with a wild card. At least that's what I'm thinking with my team currently. And yeah, I think this team looks fine for this week.
I know you want Watkins maybe to Haaland, and I get the João Pedro pick, keeping him, because I'm with you. Like, Welbeck's probably not fit. João Pedro is perfectly fine. He's cheap. And more importantly, he is playing in 29 and he's a body, whether he's starting or not. Watkins isn't playing in 29. And Cunha, the next 3 for Cunha over Watkins, I'm tempted to make that move in the next hour, and I'm free hitting in 29. To see you not consider it, I'm like, oh, what am I missing here? Have you looked at that move? Just Watkins to Cunha?
I have, actually. I have. But then again, I think that Villa can do well in the next 2 fixtures. That's why I'm not exactly sure how to call the Crystal Palace versus Villa game. I think that game should be high scoring, because if you look at Crystal Palace's home record, away from home, they're they're a very good defense. They have not conceded many goals, but at home they have just one clean sheet this season, or two at max, if I'm not mistaken. They're conceding on average, close to 2 goals a game at home, and I think games at home for Palace should be high scoring. Then again, very similar with Brentford. I mean, I have owned Flecken for the significant majority of the season, and I know that Flecken generally is not has not been reliable for clean sheets. Yes, they've kept a couple of clean sheets in the past 2 weeks, but generally, I still won't back Brentford as a team for clean sheets. So
Yeah.
even though I do feel as if Cunha will do well in the next 2 weeks, it's not strong enough reasons for me to ditch Watkins, because I think Watkins can come close to matching him.
I'm not sure. I might make the move. Oh, I might make the move. And 29 isn't even a concern for me. I just look at moving forward with Wolves.
Right.
Like, they're not a team that will now get double in 33. It's unlikely. Are they out the FA Cup? I can't remember. Just going to have a look.
My counter is my counter is Gianni. Watkins had close to zero point 0.8 non-pen XGI against Chelsea. Had he scored, would you have been selling him after, let's say, 3 returns and 2 starts? I don't think you would be contemplating selling him at all. So is this coming about just because of a blank and just because Cunha scored? I think recency bias is coming into play, perhaps.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And, it was painful watching those misses against Chelsea, my team. When it's just, I think long term with Villa, the Champions League distraction is real. And I don't know how I feel about that. Like, the Brentford fixture is great, but it comes 4 days after they travel to Bruges. And then it comes 4 days later, they host Bruges. Just straight away, it's like wedged between Champions League. And I don't love that. They have got Cardiff in the FA Cup this weekend. I expect Watkins gets his rest there. It's actually on Friday, the game. But I don't know. I mean, I prefer Cunha. Cunha doesn't have the distractions. He could still double in 33 because Wolves still are. I didn't realise Wolves play Bournemouth in the FA Cup. That could be an upset because I expect Bournemouth to rotate. We just saw Wolves obviously play Bournemouth. I do like Wolves at the minute. I like the manager, and I really like the fixtures around that blank, that game week 29. I'd have Cunha on free hit in 29, but I'd get Fulham at home, Everton at home now. 29, I'd probably pick him on a free hit. And then I get West Ham at home, Ipswich away, Tottenham at home. Now, knowing I'm not wildcarding till game week 34, probably, that's a really good fixture run for Cunha, who then has a bad run at the end of the season for the last couple of games. But I just fancy Cunha, and it gives me money in the bank to then be really flexible moving forward with players like Eze. I could maybe keep Rodgers and sell Enzo. So, yeah, I'm tempted. I'm 50-50 on making that move in the next hour.
I think you will. I think you've talked yourself into it.
Yeah. I hadn't even looked at it. Let's just go to my team. We'll come back to Bigmans in a minute so you can see what I'm talking about, guys. But, I mean, I feel like it makes sense. Let me know in the chat what you think. Should Gianni sell Watkins to Cunha, yes or no? We'll do a poll for that. I think it makes sense. I did love Rodgers to Eze this week. I've got the exact funds, as I said, but I'm still not sure if I want double Palace attack or double Palace defence. And I can make that decision next week ahead of Ipswich because I'm looking at Henderson. I do think Henderson's a nice keeper and he's cheap. And if I'm going to bench boost in 32, I need 2 playing keepers. So I'd actually sell Fabianski to Henderson. So that's a move I can consider. So yeah, that's where I'm at. What do you make of Rodgers out Eze in as an option?
Dean is saying, yes, mate, do it.
Do the Cunha move. Come on, Dean. Good to see Dean in the chat, everyone. He couldn't make the stream tonight, but he can still watch and comment. So if you've got any questions for Dean as well, get them in. What do you reckon, big man? Do I? The chat saying, so far the chat saying do it. 78%.
I don't think I would personally. I think there's just a better use of free transfers. Do you think Cunha outscores Watkins by 4 in the next 2? It's tough. I won't be that
by 4
sure.
points in the next 2. No, but in the next 4, forget the 29 fixture, I reckon he does. And more importantly, it gives me a ton of money.
But why are we looking at 29? Because you'll be free hitting in 29 anyway, right?
Yeah, so ignore 29.
We're looking at Ignore 29. That's exactly why I mentioned two fixtures.
Yeah, but I'm thinking I'm going to have Cunha the 2 fixtures after 29. So let's say, does he outscore Watkins in the next 2? Maybe not, but does he from
At that
game week
point, my
27,
counter
28,
could be that
30, 31?
yeah, but I can counter with that by saying that you might want, let's say, Marmoush in 30 when
In that
City are playing
spot.
Leicester at home. Exactly.
And I'm not selling Isak and I'm not selling Mateta.
Because of the doubles in 32, right? That's
Yeah.
that's the only sort of counter I can raise there. Because any injury to Haaland, let's say if that there's a recurrence of this injury, Marmoush should probably be essential. I mean, he's going to be a good pick even with Haaland anyway.
The Marmouche question is there, but then I would go, well, that's all right. Cunha's got West Ham and Ipswich in 30-31. I kind of have
Yeah,
to.
it's just about the.
Where were you at with
It's just
Cunha
about
when
how
everyone
much
was buying
weightage
him
you
early in
do.
the season? Were you one of the owners?
Unfortunately, I wasn't.
Yeah, I
And
feel like
unfortunately,
we've been here before. Go on.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't, and I was one of those who picked Calvert-Lewin over Wood as well. So my history with budget strikers this season has been terrible to say the least. So yeah, you're probably better off going with your own judgment at this point.
It's just the fact he needs 1 return to get 3 bonus, and his underlying numbers. And Big Man, you and I both love XG numbers. His XGI in the last 3 0.95, 0.64, 0.69. Like, that's very good, very good. Like, what's Watkins in the last 3?
Watkins must be similar though, because his numbers have been really strong as well.
Yeah, he's 0.81, 0.33, but then 0.80. So really similar. Probably collectively Cunha just edges it. But yeah, it's the money saving, isn't it? It's 8.9 or 6.9. You 2 million saving. I feel like I'm going to do it.
You will, and I don't want to talk you out of it because you've sort of made your mind up anyway. Anyway, looking at your team, Gianni, I really like Enzo, by the way. I think he's going to be playing in a relatively advanced position this week, and I think he's actually a good shout to score or assist.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I was worried about his hamstring at the end of the Villa game because he held it, but he's been pictured in training, so I think we're good. So I think I'm there. Lucky with Enzo. Palmer's going to be my captain. And then, yeah, I've still got the comment on Rico Lewis last night made me chuckle. It's been mentioned a few times in my YouTube comments earlier. I love that people were also enjoyed that. He does need to go. And look, by selling Watkins to Cunha, I can go Rico Lewis up to an 8 Nori, which I also really like the look of. Let's move on back to your team, Big Man. Some have said if you go Watkins to Cunha and you can then go... I then maybe don't need to free hit. But I'm free hit. I could go. They said go Watkins to Cunha, and go.
Yeah, but you still have Mateta, Munoz, right? And
I don't want to sell them.
Liverpool in your team.
But I could then go Rodgers to Bowen on a 4-point hit, and that gets me 10 players for game week 29 without any more hits. But I'm not there. I've emotionally made my bed, and I'm very happy with my chip strategy now. I want to go against the obvious chip strategy, just because I need to think a little bit differently. But yeah, back to your team. There isn't a single transfer that's going to tempt you.
No chance.
And you are locked on captaincy. You're locked on benching order?
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's not much between Konsa and Mikalenko. I hope I don't have to make use of them.
Yeah. Brentford, Mikalenko, I'm also benching. Is that partly because you've got Pickford, or does that come out the... Is that not an option for you? Is that not taken into account?
I think Brentford will score. I look at that fixture and I think that's a fixture which Brentford will win. Brentford at home are generally a trustworthy team.
Mate, I don't want to keep banging the Cunha door, but I've just noticed you've still got to die.
I do, yeah. But if I get, let's say, Cunha, I'll have a benching headache for no reason, right? Because all of my front 7 are fine. I don't really feel the need to bench anyone.
That's what turns me off buying Eze this week, is I don't really want to be benching a Dango.
Yeah, or a Trossard even. I mean, I guess you'd probably, say bench Trossard, but Trossard is fine. Like,
it's hard because you've just bought him as well. It's always that attachment of I've just bought him. I don't really want to bench him.
There's that, but like I would still expect Arsenal to score against Forest. It's a difficult fixture for sure, but it's not as if I won't expect Trossard to get a return, right? It's not
Fair.
exactly a terrible fixture.
Yeah. Okay. That's where I think Big Man is at, and you look good. How do you feel about 29 then with this team? How likely are you to make a hit before 29? And how does free transfers get you 11 out?
So my plan in 25, 29, sorry, is to get Salah in for, sorry, Haaland in for Watkins through a Salah to a Semenyo downgrade maybe, or any midfielder in that price range. That's the transfer I'm looking at. I'll still have a spare transfer, which I might use on a defender if need be, or any player who gets injured. So it's nice to have that flexibility. But apart from that, I think that's the rough team that I'm looking at for 29. And that team will then roll into game week 30. If we get any, let's say, news regarding the doubles in 30, then and if my team needs a wild card, I might as well wild card in 30. But the plan currently is to wait till 31 because that's when it's likely that we hear news about the doubles to follow later.
Yeah, okay. Looks good. So is that news very likely to come before 31 but not before 30? Is 30 a midweek? Is that why? Why we're not sure on if it's 30 or 31? I feel like that's the reason.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we're not sure, and currently it's expected that it will come later.
And to be clear, the FA Cup is this coming weekend. The 33 doubles we're going to know a lot more about, we think, based on this weekend's fixtures, right? Is there another round of the FA Cup before that, or is that the round that determines the doubles in 33?
Well, we will get some info after this week's results, but mainly it's the fixtures later in mid March, which will be
The
after
next round of the FA Cup,
20,
but based on bookies' odds
exactly.
and stuff, we'll hopefully get a read because we'll know a lot more
Yeah,
about
yeah,
one,
yeah,
the draw,
exactly.
but two, who's actually like. There's games like Bournemouth Wolves, really hard to call. Sure, we can look at Crystal Palace Millwall and think Palace will go through, but there's also some difficult matchups. So yeah, okay. There we go. Guys, we got to do some questions. We want to take your questions. There are so many questions about benching dilemmas. I'm happy to answer some, but I've just answered loads on my channel. And when it's one very good player with another very good player, it's the impossible choice. Like if you ask me to bench Dango or Chris Wood, I'm like, I don't know. They're not in my team and I've not given it enough thought. If that obvious, we'll tell you. But any really tight calls, if your questions are around that, I can't guarantee we can answer with any clarity unless they're in our team, and then we can say go off that. Are you with me there, big man? Because the benching dilemmas this week are real.
They are crazy. I mean, I've seen people contemplating benching. Let's say one of Dango Isak, Dango Wood, João Pedro Isak. Players like that. It's
Yeah.
borderline impossible to answer genuinely.
So tough. Yeah, it's something I'm really struggling with. So yeah, Pereira for a slot for free transfer. Love that, Coys. Vita Pereira is definitely a
Love
manager
that.
that can hit bonus. Like, if Dean's still in the chat, let
Johnny,
us know what you think of Fulham versus Wolves.
yeah, Johnny, if you were to pick an assistant manager this week, which manager would you feel most confident investing in? I mean, apart from the obvious Maresca, but then again, he doesn't exactly have the upside. So I'm referring to those managers with table bonus. I think I would feel most confident in a Wolves victory over Fulham if I
Me
had to
too.
guess.
Does
And
does Glasner get bonus for
he
Villa? I
does,
guess he
but
does.
he does.
Yeah.
But are you as certain of a Palace victory as you are
No,
of a Wolves one? I think Wolves is more certain, right?
absolutely. Yeah. I really like Wolves
I
as a
go
shout.
Wolves as well.
And
Agreed.
actually, there's a few that because of Wolves Fulham, they punted on Wolves last week. I saw a few that had punted on Wolves last week, which I was like, fair play, because they didn't expect much. They got it at Bournemouth. The red card helped, but it then means they don't have to spend a transfer and they've got Fulham.
Next question is bench Elanga, Dango, or Clivert. I would probably bench Elanga from those simply because
How
of
do
the
you make
fixture.
of Forest Arsenal, by the way? Like, do you fancy Arsenal for a clean sheet there? I feel like that could be quite a low scoring game.
I think Forest will get a result out of the game, personally. I think it's probably going to be 1-1 all or something of that sort.
Yeah. Freddie's in the house. Question for you on the Bournemouth mids. We should rank them, actually.
Bench Clifford or Dango. I think I would probably just go with my assessment of and my read of the Bournemouth midfielders, which is how I rate them in the pecking order. I think Dango and Semenyo are fairly similar. I don't like Clivert as much because he tends to get subbed early, and that's why I would bench Clivert from the two.
I was going to say I'd go on the minutes, and Clivert isn't getting anywhere near 90 compared to Semenyo and Dango, and that really makes a difference for me. Yeah, I like that. Good shout.
Next question, please.
Oh, Robinson or Jean Pedro? Always back the attacker, right?
For sure. Bench Robinson.
This
Fulham
is
will
an obvious
concede,
one, Dave.
I think this is
an
very
obvious
obvious.
one, Dave. We're hoping. I mean,
Aina
we're
or
hoping
Robinson?
Robinson gets his start. Aina or Robinson again? Like that's tough.
I'd bench Aina, I think.
Would you?
I think so.
I think I'd start Aina. I just have big trust issues with that Arsenal attack now.
You really don't rate them at all, do you?
I don't. No, I really don't. It was the 80 minutes to score versus Leicester that did it for me. Mate, whilst we're looking at these, I'm just doing an interrupt because a lot are looking at Cunha. I've just looked at the price rise of Cunha, by the way. Cunha's price rise he's at 226% and he's already risen. Like a ton of managers are buying Cunha this week. He's going to be 7 million.
He was popular early in the season. He was very popular early in the season, and I can see why. I just wanted to sort of touch upon some of the bookies odds in the previous question that the listener was asking. Nottingham Forest are 21% to keep a clean sheet. Fulham are 27%. So marginally, the bookies are favoring Fulham for the clean sheet, even though like both of them seem very unlikely. Brendan is asking Pickford or Raya. Everton's clean sheet probability is 17%. That's quite a far way below Arsenal's 36%. So I would go with Raya.
Yeah, okay. Mate, I think we should do a poll. Are you locked on captaincy this game week? Yes or no? Like, I want to know, are there people out there still unsure who they're captaining? I'm guessing there's a lot that were going to go Salah and are now thinking of going Palmer. So we'll get that poll up. Bill's question. Oh, big man, this one's for you. I think you'll be better at this. Haaland 29. His eyes are on as well.
Yeah, hi Bill. Thanks for the super chat. Who to bench? Gakpo, João Pedro, Dango, Semenyo. I think probably Gakpo because we're not sure about his minutes. I would think he starts though, but when you have other guys who are more sort of secure, I would rather go with them. Also, would you do Gakpo to Cunha this week or roll for more info? I think if you already have a benching dilemma, a benching headache, then rolling makes a lot of sense. Haaland in 29, I will be there if Haaland is fit. So yes, that's again, I think these two questions are actually interlinked because if you save this week, that would allow you 2 free transfers in 29, and that would make it easy for you to get Haaland. So that's the way I would approach it. Gianni?
I'm with you there. Assistant manager question. Last chance. We just said, actually, Glasner's good, but we probably wouldn't go there. We like Pereira, don't we?
Yep.
Not a Postecoglou? I mean, just never fully trust Spurs.
I go there. I can't bring myself to do that. Even though I do think Spurs will probably get a result against City. Evan is asking, start Wood or Rodgers? I would go for Wood because I'm not even sure what Rodgers will play.
And he could come off the bench, Rodgers. He could be good for a cameo. What do you make of Asensio, by the way, and how that could affect Rodgers?
I mean, it's difficult to say. I guess Rodgers has been good enough this season and has been prolific to play in the first team. It just depends on his role. His role might change. He might play on the right, if that's what you're alluding to. But currently, I think more than his role in the team, the minutes are more of a concern with the injury that he got. So yeah, I think Rodgers is a sell or a bench, in my opinion.
Oh, bench Isak and Wood. I actually don't think I could bench Isak just because I think he's the best. Like I think I bench Wood. I don't like saying that. Big man, Isak or Wood?
I agree. I would play Isak. Your next question is from Nathan Triple Captain Palmer. I think you can wait for the doubles later, even though this is a question I've heard from a lot of people, and I think it makes sense to wait, even though I think Chelsea will win comfortably.
There's a lot of Wood. Wood or Delap? I'd start Wood, I think.
I'd start Wood as well. And start one of Mikalenko, Hall, Milinkovic. I would bench Hall for sure, and I think I would bench Milinkovic as well. Colin's asking Watkins and Dango to Cunha and Bowen for hit. No, I would not take that hit for sure. No chance. No chance.
One for you again,
Big man, bench one from Clive Gakpo or Wood. In an ideal world, I would bench Wood, but I'm not sure whether Gakpo will start. That's the issue. Yeah, I think a lot of this depends on your read of the expected minutes, and because we're not certain, I would bench Gakpo, but it's a very reluctant answer from me because I think there's a world where this can massively backfire. I know this is not exactly what you want to hear, but it is what it is, and it is really, really tricky to say. Gianni?
I think I'm the same. Yeah. Yeah. Sega, thank you so much. Should I go Cliver? Oh, Dango. We both like Dango still, do we, or not, with Evan Nilsson news? I still like Dango. I think with Evan Nilsson back, we'll see Dango wide quite a bit.
I don't like Dango as much at this point, but I still like him more than Cliver. As in, I have some sort of reservations regarding Dango's expected minutes going forward, but he's still better than Cliver. So I would go with Dango if that's the question you're asking. But why would you sell Bowen? Wait.
Oh no, it's
I think the question it must be
who would you sell for Bowen?
Should I go Clivert or Dango for Bowen?
Yeah. Okay. So who would you sell for Bowen? We would both sell Clivert.
That's the question.
Because he's worth more money to you as well.
Yeah, and Bowen is nice. Yeah.
Rodgers to Neto. Yeah. Neto's a punt. There's no guarantee to start. I think he will start. I don't know if he'll be number 9, but I like Neto more than Nketiah punts.
Thoughts on Minte? Minte, Matoma. I mean, it's these guys are playing really well these days, but I'm not personally considering the Brighton minutes. I just think the Brighton roulette is very difficult to predict. For example, a couple of weeks ago, we thought that João Pedro was Brighton's best attacker. Then a week ago, we thought that he was done. Now he's back in the frame again. I would personally stay away from the Brighton attackers. The fixtures are all right. They're not exactly amazing. I think at the same price, I trust the Bournemouth mids more. What do you reckon, Gianni?
I do. The Bournemouth mids. Do you know what? If Bournemouth had gone and beaten Wolves convincingly, and they probably would have done if Zabani wasn't sent off, we'd all be talking about doubling, tripling up on the Bournemouth midfielders again. Like, we cannot forget, Bournemouth midfielders have an unbelievable fixture run. They're in the middle of it now. So, sure, okay, it's Brighton this week, isn't the best game. Tottenham next week is brilliant. And by the way, Tottenham have got European games next week, I think. Distraction there. But then it's Brentford, Ipswich, West Ham, Fulham, and then probably a double game week in 33. Like, there's a lot to love about Bournemouth still.
Yeah. I love Bournemouth. And their attack actually this season has been relatively fixture-proof. They've done it against the bigger sides. Callum is saying, watching Singapore, 1 a.m. Thank you very much. Just trying to decide whether to bench Kak for Clive or Enzo. I think we've answered this question in the previous section, Callum. I don't think I'd bench Enzo for sure. I think he's a good option this week. Has to be one of Gakpo, Clive. I probably would bench Gakpo because of the uncertainty over his minutes, but it could backfire. It's a really tough one.
Yeah. Trossard. I would be getting rid of Trossard. I'm sorry to say that, big man.
Do you sell him for Bowman? I do think not at all. I mean, I would have made that move considering I know even with hindsight, I think it made a lot of sense because I was gonna go for someone relatively cheaper who would help me get Cunha this week. Now, by some miracle, João Pedro has become an option again. But those funds that I got from Trossard would have helped me get Cunha this week. I don't think I could have gone with a more expensive option.
Yeah, okay.
Guys, who to bench? Zed is asking Clivert, Dango, or Isak. I would pay
Oh,
Isak over both, actually. I think I would bench Clivert from these.
yeah. Is it better to own João Pedro or Strand Larson? Strand Larson's not back in the 11, is he? I think he's back fit, but I don't think he was back in the 11 for Wolves the other day. I don't think he's had a start yet since the injury. I'm just looking now. Strand
I
Larson
just think his
played
minutes
45
are
minutes.
they're a huge concern. I don't think I would go anywhere near him personally. And João Pedro's minutes are up in the air as well, but like they're still at least better than Strand Larson. That's what I would assume.
Yeah, I think so. Good question though. Thank you. Mate, there's a lot that is sort of saying with me with Cunha. Let's just talk a bit about chip strategy. That if I'm going Cunha, I may as well just not free hit in 29. What do you make of the whole free hit 29 in general and that chip strategy that I'm on, which is I'm happy to wildcard in 34 because I think we're going to get a really big double game week in 33. I can still bench boost and dead end. And then in 34, yes, it will be a blank game week, but if I've got a wild card, I can navigate that. I can put doublers for 35, 36 if they come on my bench and still navigate that sort of 4-5 game stretch. Do you think there's much between my strategy and your strategy? Or do you think it's clear as day we should all be dead ending in 29?
I don't think it's clear as day because especially now that you've sort of decided on a specific strategy, you've loaded up on Palace, you've loaded up on Newcastle. Now, if you go differently from this point, I think your team will probably suffer in the sense that it just looks at a team which is ripe for free hit in 29. For example, if I was doing FPL content and if I had to show someone which team is a free hit 29 team, I would literally just pick your team and show it to my followers. That's what I would do. But a lot of teams, for example, if you look at my team or if you look at the majority of teams on FPL Twitter or YouTube, I don't think they need to free hit in 29. So it is very team specific. I don't think there's a right or wrong strategy, but personally, when I look at your team, I don't think you should be following the herd just because everyone else is doing it. You should do it as well. I think the decision to make for your team regarding the chip strategy was last week, and when you got in
Mateta on a 4-point hit
and used a free transfer as well, I think you pretty much resigned yourself to that chip strategy, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's fine.
Yeah. I really like it. I think the Palace fixtures in particular, free hitters can have triple Palace for Ipswich and Southampton. Like, yes, please. Non-free hitters will probably have a maximum of one Palace, maybe even no Palace. I'm going to have triple Palace for those two games. And it's not just Palace. I don't have to sell Salah. A lot of other players are going to sell Salah to get Haaland. I can still have Haaland in 29 and not 30 and be fine. I could say similar with Newcastle. Like, I think keeping Newcastle assets is perfectly fine. Like, everyone's selling Lewis Hall. I'm like, dude, why would we want to sell Lewis Hall? Again, his fixtures around that blank are fine. It's West Ham, Brentford, Leicester. Like, again, Isak, some are going to have to sell Isak. So I'm really happy with my plan. We did do a poll. Are you locked on captaincy, by the way? I can't see the results of that poll now. I'm scrolling and I can't see them. But it was something like 40% are still not locked on captaincy. 40%, the vote is still up for grabs. So we should just, for the 40% watching, we should just give our pros and cons on both Salah and Palmer. And by the way, guys, we would love you to hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. And Kushal, thank you so much for the sticker. Or yeah, we really appreciate that. It's a perfect form versus fixtures play, isn't it, big man? But we shouldn't be worried about Chelsea's form because it's Southampton. Keep coming back to it, but it's true.
It's true, and I want to sort of start this discussion by answering a question that you actually raised yesterday, where you asked about the bookmakers' probability to score assists for Palmer and Salah. I just rechecked them an hour ago, and Salah was 66% to score assists this week. Can you guess Palmer?
72?
He was 75. That's a 9% swing. That's huge.
Yeah,
9% is a lot when you're comparing big bookmaker probabilities. And generally, over the course of the season, it's game week 27. whenever I've had to make a 50-50 decision, I look at these probabilities, and very often the difference between probabilities is 2 to 3%, maximum 4%. I've never seen myself being confused in a decision and the difference to be 9%. So the bookmakers actually think that it's a no-brainer, because the Chelsea goal line is so high that they're expecting Chelsea to dismantle Southampton, and they're just expecting Palmer to enjoy himself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Matt, I've just seen some news on Twitter. It's probably rubbish. It's from an account called Up the Cherries. He's got 100 followers. So this probably is absolute BS. But it's been shared by FPL Schofield, who's obviously a Bournemouth fan. And the fact he shared it makes me just want to at least read it out. Saying Huijsen, the Bournemouth centre-back, who's been amazing for them, has torn his ACL. If that's the case, they've got a like, that's brilliant for João Pedro owners.
Zabarni's suspended as well, right?
Yeah. So it would be Hill and someone called Matai, who I don't even know, both starting.
I mean, that would suck, but I hope it's not true.
So interesting that. I mean, how does that affect our Bournemouth attack? A tiny bit, maybe. How does it affect our Brighton attack? Well, very good. That fixture is up in the air already, but yeah. Oscar Bob, by the way, is back in training. Also, just wanted to throw that out there for those looking at wildcards in 30. For those,
Ashikar has sent a very generous super chat. Thank you. Assistant manager Glasner Pereira. We discussed this. Both me and Gianni prefer Pereira. Captain Salah, Palmer, Bowen. Again, Palmer for both of us, and for Dean as well.
Yeah. Really,
let's take 2 to 3 questions and let's end it. I think the questions are now getting repetitive, and we seem to have covered everything.
Yeah, no, we have. Guys, we would love you to hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. There's loads of new people watching. There's only 300 of you, which for us is a little bit lighter than normal, but we know loads of you are newbies, and to hit that button would mean a lot. Thank you. Oh, the benching questions are so hard. Visceral Matoma.
Bench Visceral Matoma. I think I would
probably Vissa.
I would bench Matoma.
Even if Huijsen's
see that's it's. I think so. What double game week can beat the triple captain Palmer than Bigman? Game week 32, right? When Newcastle are doubling, they have 2 home fixtures against Man United and Crystal Palace. So that's what I would expect. Generally, I'm all for captaining in double game weeks. I see the appeal with Palmer this week, but I think you should look at it this way. If you captain him this week and if he does really well, then you will gain in rank anyway, because the majority of people will captain Salah. So it's a win-win either way. Navadik is asking, should I start Konza, Mikalenko, or take -4 to get... No, don't take the -4 for sure.
No, I wouldn't. That Ainori's great, but I wouldn't be taking the -4. Ricardo, I'm going to answer your question in a sec. Big Man, I need to push you one more time on, because you would have looked at the numbers.
Sure.
Watkins versus Cunha. I just want to know, off the top of your head, the defensive stats of Palace at home versus Wolves versus Fulham away.
Yeah, both aren't great from what I can recall.
Palace have been better away than at home, and Fulham on the road, I don't think
they've been much better away.
Palace.
Yeah, Fulham have also been better at home.
And Fulham have just come off their worst performance of the season. I think I'm going to go Cunha. Yeah.
Who's Cunha playing next week, Gianni?
Everton at home, I think.
Yeah, and Everton are generally better at home as well.
Everton at home. And then he's got West Ham and Ipswich in 30-31.
I think you're going to do it. Don't...
Ollie Watkins is that sort of player that can go and get a hat-trick and kill you. It's fun to be on Watkins, though, isn't it? Because Watkins is a differential, like especially in the community. What's the ownership of Watkins? Have a look. Just going to check out the ownership of Watkins. Watkins is on 20%. Cunha's going to be on 20% soon.
Cunha will be higher, I think. I don't think anyone will be buying Watkins
Engaged
this week.
managers
Even
more will have
when
Cunha.
exactly, even when Watkins doubled last week, not a lot of people jumped on him. Not that I can recall.
Yeah, I'd bench Iwobi. Thank you so much, Maxwell. Guys, on that, we're probably going to end it with Maxwell's question. I have Sells and Sanchez. Is it worth adding Flecken or Sarr? No, I think Sells is fine. Sells and Sanchez.
I think
I
so.
mean, if you're happy starting Sells each week, I think you're fine. Ricardo, I'd be benching Iwobi and Cash. Woo! I think that's it. Mate, have you got any strong opinion to convince me outside of Cunha before we say our goodbyes?
No, I think it comes down to personal preference, to be very honest, Johnny. I'm not doing it, but my chip strategy is different. Yours is different. And
thing is, Cunha works more for your chip strategy than mine.
no, but the issue is that Watkins is my route out for Haaland, right?
Yeah.
For you, Watkins is your second striker, so you can easily sell him for Cunha. That's what I'm trying to come to.
I know I'm not getting Haaland because I'm going to have him in 29. I just won't have him in 30. So maybe in 30, I have a City midfielder or something. I can't get Marmoush now, though. That's the only thing. It's Phil Foden, baby. He's coming back. He's coming home.
You're going to have him in Gameweek naturally, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. Guys, thank you so much for your comments in the chat. We've really enjoyed it today. We hope lots of you have enjoyed it too. On your way out, if you do one thing, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you later in the week for another Chasing Green Arrows. Bye-bye.